Hello, everyone. Welcome to our Hormone Freedom Hour. So excited to be with you today. Happy Wednesday. If you're tuning in live, we have people on Instagram tuning in. Please give a high five or thumbs up or say hi in the chat. If you're tuning in from Facebook, also happy to be here with you. I know we are in our Facebook group, also just our general Facebook accounts, both mine and Helen's. Great to be here. And hello, Mitzi. Hi, Jerry. Lovely to be in this conversation as always today. Let's see. So as we dive in here, today's conversation, let me make sure I got myself pinned so you can see where we're going. Today's conversation, I'm going to be sharing some crazy, wild things that happened last week. I was actually on vacation with my youngest daughter, Taylor, for those of you who don't know yet. She just graduated 8th grade, so she's going into high school freshman year, and we did a mom-daughter trip with 7 newly freshmen ready for high school girls and moms. So it was super fun. And today I'm going to be sharing how the crazy events that happened in vacation actually were like a good metaphor for what what I share, what we inspire our clients with all the time, to like stop trying harder, find the pattern, really get curious, being in that place of curiosity, and how that can actually be the biggest mindset shift, the biggest tool for helping you to massively up level and transform your health, right? So we work every single week. We're working with women all the time who are focused on increasing their energy, sleeping better, and having restorative sleep so you don't feel like you're waking up at 2 a.m., 3 a.m., tossing and turning, and just by the morning, it's hard to drag yourself out of bed. Whether it's that weight gain that seems to be accumulating around the midsection. That's always the area that's the most frustrating and annoying for many of our clients. Any of the symptoms, right, that are common at this season of life for women. Once we're past 40, our bodies do shift and change. But I want to share with you this crazy, wild story that happened last week, a couple different things that happened, and how it really it struck a chord with me about that place of curiosity, that place of acceptance, that is so important and tied to our health transformation journey. So let's backtrack a little. Like I said, we're in Florida. My daughter, Taylor, she just graduated 8th grade, and also 6 of her close friends and 7 of us moms, all traveling together. One of the moms was, super generous. They have a house in Sanibel Island, her in-laws. And so they opened up their house and let all of us come down. Sanibel is like this remote little island. It's definitely, you feel like you're that island vibe. It's funny because I go to Naples every year. My parents are in Naples, Florida, and that's a little bit more urban. You feel like you still have all the Starbucks and the chain restaurants and the franchises. But going to Sanibel, just crossing over the causeway, it gets a lot more remote. It's, everything is more of like mom pop shop, islandy and just, a different feel. So it was really fun. And our week was an adventure. The first day, I was one of the moms who raised my hand to say, I'll get a rental car. We knew we needed 2 rental minivans to transport our crew of 14. So I got a minivan. One of the other moms got a minivan. And day one, we pull into this beautiful house that we were staying. And the other mom pulls in. I pull, and kind of the driveway kind of curves. So I pull off to the side and kind of curve to go next to her. The kids jump out of the car and go change into their bathing suits, and they go running. Can we go to the beach? Can we go to the beach? We want to start walking, collecting seashells. And we're like, sure, we'll meet you there. So they take off, they go to the beach. We're loading up the cars, getting the sun chairs and the towels and all of that stuff. The moms are in my car, go to back out to go to the beach. And I'm really cognizant of, okay, I want to pay attention to this curve. Reminds me of how so many women I work with are like, I'm really being intentional. I want to be paying attention to my diet. I want to pay attention to my exercise. And we have this thought, this plan of okay, I'm going to follow the steps. And I was like, I'm going to drive very carefully around the curve of this driveway to back out in a different vehicle. I was in a Honda Odyssey minivan, and look over my rear view, didn't see anything in my blind spot. Looking back, using the backup cameras, nothing was in the camera. Sure enough, what happens? I back into a palm tree, literally crash into a palm tree, and nothing, mind you, none of the sensors went off on the car, by the way. Normally I always use you can hear the beep, beep, beep when you're getting close. None of that happened, but crashed the back left corner tail light, smack into a palm tree. and was literally stunned. I was just like, I don't even know what I hit. We couldn't even see it. And then I pulled up and obviously there was a tree right exactly in the blind spot. The sensor didn't pick it up. And it was a fascinating experience to be in the situation where clearly that's not desirable. It's not what I wanted to have happen, not what any of us wanted to have happen on day one of our trip. But I really immediately went into this place of curiosity of like, huh, interesting. Like, I wonder why this happened. I wonder what's to learn from this, or what am I supposed to know? Like, that's kind of where I always go into that place of like curiosity of like, okay, well, what do I do now? Like, what are the steps? Of course, going into action. That's very important. Um, I called my insurance guy. This really great guy, Tim Travis. If you're looking for an insurance guy, I'll give a shout out to Tim. But he's like, hey, this is something that's, you're covered by insurance. We're going to submit a claim. Everything will be okay. By the way, it cracked the back rear light. So the rear light was cracked. The side of the car was like buckled out. So it definitely hit the bumper and popped out that back side. And it hit the bumper. So to the point where the tail, like the trunk, couldn't close all the way. So like it could, like if you kind of held and put some pressure on it, then it would stay shut. But in the car, the sensor kept saying tailgate ajar, tailgate ajar, and it kept beeping. Yeah, I know. It's like, ugh. So I knew clearly there was definitely damage to the car, right? And the insurance guy said, oh, call the rental company and they'll tell you what to do. So we proceed forward, do all the necessary steps. I called the rental company and they're like, is it drivable? Is anyone injured? No, 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 everything's all good. So that was great. I assumed I would have to take the rental car back, drive 45 minutes back to the airport and return it. But they're like, no, you can keep it for the remainder of the trip. Just return it on Sunday for your normal, drop off. And so I continued to drive it all week with the beep, beep, beep. The girls were laughing because I had the car with 8 passengers. So all 7 girls were always in my car. And then the moms would be in the other one. And the whole week it was like beep, 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 because it was saying like the tailgate is ajar. The tailgate is ajar. So again, why am I bringing this up? It's this reminder of sometimes we have these symptoms. Like our symptoms are signals, right? We have symptoms, whether it be the brain fog, whether it be the low energy, whether it be the insomnia or restlessness at night where you can't sleep. Like I said, if it's that midsection weight gain, our body is always giving us signals. Just like this van was giving us the beep, 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 like something needs your attention here, something is going on. So we do have these signals that come up often in our health, in our physiology, and how we feel day in and day out. And it's interesting, like I was told to just keep driving, keep doing the thing and get through the rest of the trip and drop it off. So we did that. Everything was okay. We had a great time. We went to the beach, went to the pool. I got eaten alive with no-see-ums. Those are those tiny little bugs that are like you can't even see, but they can definitely bite. And there was definitely many of those out ferociously this summer. But we had a blast. The girls laughed and created memories and great connection and good conversation with all of us moms and a fun time. And then we come to the last day. We're supposed to fly home Sunday night and our flight was canceled. So of course the girls are like cheering. They're like, yes, yes, yes. No more, we get to stay in Florida an extra night. And all of us moms are like rescheduling to get on the earliest flight out on Monday so we can hopefully not miss a whole day of work. And we scheduled the early morning flight. And then that night we had no food because we had kind of eaten up all the leftovers that we had bought from groceries and everything. So we ordered pizzas. And I'm like, oh, I'm in the rest of the trip, by the way, mind you, I parked at the end of the driveway. I'm like, I'm not pulling all the way up around that curve and navigating that. I'm just going to stay at the end of the driveway so I can just do a quick, reverse and pull out. And so I was at the end of the driveway, pulled out to go get the pizza. And I'm somebody who often leaves my car unlocked. I always do. In fact, the last time I locked my car, believe it or not, was when it was stolen right in front of me when I was downtown Chicago. This was 3 years ago. I was at a mastermind event for one of my good friends. And I parked on Michigan Avenue and literally locked my car because I don't normally lock it, but I locked it being downtown in the city. And literally came out after the event and saw people like stealing my car, taking it away as it was going, kind of wild and crazy. But that's for another story. So this night, we get back out of the car with the pizza boxes. I'm carrying 3 boxes. The other mom's carrying a box. We go up to the room and hit lock on the car. Didn't even think about it. The next morning, 5 a.m., All 14 of us are loaded up with luggage, ready to leave for the airport, and the keys to my car were still in the car, and the car was locked. So we're like, oh no, like now we're gonna miss our flight because we can't get into the car. So here's again another analogy, another metaphor for sometimes you need somebody outside of you to see things or to look at it from a new angle to help. So I went in the house to start calling the rental car company because they had a thing on the, when you press four if you've locked your keys in the car. So I'm pressing that to see if we can get a hold of anyone. One of the moms is calling 911 for Sanibel, see if they can send the police to open up the car. Another mom is trying to look up a Sanibel locksmith, but we're 5 a.m. Like no one's answering. There's no help there. Well, Sylvia to the rescue, one of our moms, she was in the back and she knew that the back of the car, the tailgate was not fully closed. So she's jostling that. She got it to pop open, crawled through, got the keys, unlocked the car, and lo and behold, we all made it to the airport. Everything was smooth, even with the, drop off of the rental car. They just jotted down my insurance to submit a claim. Very, very easy. So it was just a really interesting experience to see like, yeah, sometimes things are totally not what you want them to be, right? That was not fun to have the car crashed and to have the keys locked in the car, but really staying calm and curious and having that outside perspective is a game changer. I mean, that honestly, literally, like it was very calm and just like, huh, interesting. Maybe in a weird way, like the fact that the back door couldn't close was actually the saving grace. Like that was actually like a blessing in disguise because it enabled us to get to the airport for this flight after we had locked the keys in the car. So yes, moral of the story is don't have Amanda be a rental car person next time if we ever travel together. But I just thought it would be kind of funny and interesting to share that, oftentimes we're so hard on ourselves and we're trying so hard and we're pushing so hard and we're so critical and it's so fast to judge. I mean, at least I can recognize an earlier version of myself would have been absolutely berating myself for those behaviors, those choices, those decisions, even though like it really wasn't ideal, but it wasn't that big of a deal either. Like when I can stay neutral and just be in that place of curiosity, things flowed so much easier and we were able to create change. We were able to create like progress and traction. And so I wanted to share this, oftentimes again, share that interesting, random, crazy story, because I see this all the time in the women that I work with is that they're hard on themselves. They're really, really hard on themselves. And the key here is, like I said, sometimes you need that outside perspective to help you see how your symptoms can actually become your greatest blessing, how you can find the pattern, how you can see what's going on in your body with your hormones and use that knowledge, use that information, just like we use that broken tail light or that tailgate being ajar to our advantage. It actually was the thing that ended up saving us to get to the airport on time and make our flight, right? So, I mean, how many women over 40 do you know that are doing more than ever to try and fix their hormones? They're tracking their macros, right? They're trying intermittent fasting, cutting carbs, even using tools. Like we have great tools, AI tools now to optimize your health. And we know that like perimenopause, menopause, this is having its heyday. It's the time in the world right now where this is like the talk of health. You can find it whether you're looking on Instagram, on TikTok, if you're listening to podcasts, like perimenopause is the new health news. In fact, there's like a 300% increase in Google searches in the past 3 years. And millions of women every month are now trying to figure out what's happening to their bodies. And yet, they're still more exhausted, more inflamed, and more frustrated than ever. Has anyone experienced this? Like, drop into the chat if you are in that place where you're quick to feel frustrated, to get annoyed. Yes, yes. Mitzi's saying yes, absolutely, right? I just want you to know you're not alone. And today I want to offer this different lens, this different way that we can think about how to approach our health and how to have, some grace and some creative insight, some curiosity. I think curiosity is one of the emotions that we want to create a highway to curiosity instead of a highway to frustration or to self-criticism and judgment and blame. So Something important to think about is, what if we're focused on the wrong system entirely? I mean, most conversations about hormones focus on estrogen and progesterone and cortisol, but these hormones don't operate in isolation. They're all connected. It's like the whole system. So I'm going to jump over here and share my screen really quick. Hold on, give me a moment so I can get this shared for you. Uh, uh, uh. Share. Here we go. So you can see this. This is literally how our hormones are interconnected, right? And oftentimes in the conversation, we're just looking at one thing or even two hormones, and they're not isolated. Like when we think about changes in estrogen, right? So when you go through perimenopause, when you're in menopause, your body is going to function differently than it did before. See how estrogen literally is connected to almost all of these other hormones? It's connected to insulin, it's connected to progesterone, to thyroid, it's connected to epinephrine, norepinephrine, or adrenaline, which is linked to cortisol and stress, right? The stress response. But I'm sharing this just because, honestly, right now, 1 in 4 women in midlife are on antidepressants. They are taking prescriptions for GLP-1 drugs like Ozempic and Wegovy. And this is not a problem. I'm not saying that there's a problem with medication. It's just a matter of women are not lazy. They're not doing it wrong. They may have been trying to do everything that they're told, but there are some health rules that used to work that don't work the same way in your 40s and 50s and 60s, right? It used to be that we focused on eating less, moving more to lose weight. It used to be that we focused on, like, as a wife or as a mom or as a daughter, or as a spouse, like as a leader of your team, like you push through, you stay strong, you put everyone else's needs at the forefront because that's your role. You're the provider, you're the caretaker, right? So this can help to create that chronic output, always doing, always giving. It kind of leads to like caffeinating your way through the day. Does anyone else feel like low energy and it's almost like I have to caffeinate my way through the day? It really can keep your nervous system activated more than balanced. And when we have that chronic activation, this is where, again, we get depletion. No recovery creates poor sleep. It creates hormone disruption. And the third thing that's a mistake is like discipline, being more strict with ourselves, doing more when things don't seem to be working. More effort, we think, makes more results. Oftentimes it's the right focus. It's the right clarity and refinement. It's not tightening things up. It's not trying to be more strict. It's not berating yourself and being harder on yourself because you're not doing it right. And if no one has told you that these rules have changed, then of course you feel like you're failing. But you're not failing, right? You've just been playing by the wrong playbook. And now here's the key. Your brain and your body are operating in a different environment now. So your body will not execute the habits that you're trying to force. Most women don't have a discipline problem. They actually have a sequencing problem. And perhaps they haven't stepped into having that outside perspective. And that, just like I needed Sylvia to go be the one to like get the tailgate to open up, to really have that outside perspective. I also operate in that place of curiosity and wonder, allowing your symptoms to be that pathway, that clue that leads ultimately to your greatest blessing, right? And this is why women over 40, things change in their bodies. I'm going to go back and share another visual here. We can kind of see the cascade. Again, I think having visuals can be really powerful. So let me share my screen one more time. When we go back to what has changed, right? Your body stops rewarding pressure and it starts prioritizing safety. So the harder you push, the more your body resists. And this isn't failure. It's not it's just adaptation. It's how your body has shifted. So this is where, again, it's time to get curious. Just like, again, that car crash into the back of the rear view, I was like, interesting. what is happening here? What can I get curious about? What can I learn from this? One thing that really stood out, I gotta say, is like three of the moms that I was traveling with specifically commented at separate occasions how watching, they're like, it was really inspiring to see how you responded to that circumstance. Like one of them was like, I would have been panicked. I would have been freaking out and really worried about like my husband, what he was going to say and the insurance and the cost and all that. The other one's like, I would have been livid, like just lost my cool and just totally temper, like we are entitled to have emotions, but being able to process through them and really come back into balance is what helps the nervous system. Because when we think about our body, what's happening in the hypothalamus, your thoughts, your perceptions, your beliefs, and honestly, it's like the internal dialogue that you have with yourself is coming from your hypothalamus. That is the hierarchy in this cascade of hormones. And we think about that as what then is going to signal to your pituitary, which is keeping the status quo and the balance, the homeostasis in your environment and your physiology. That's what's in charge of sending out hunger cues, sending out different hormones to regulate blood pressure and immunity and things like that. Then that signals to your adrenals, which are your primary organs that regulate the stress response, your ability to respond, your ability to fight off infection and have a strong, resilient immune system. That then signals to the thyroid, which regulates metabolism, how much energy your cells are using and capitalizing on. And then that goes to our hormones and organs. But you'll notice at the top that it's really starting with our thoughts and our perceptions and our state of being. So again, I like to share that our body changes when the reproductive area, when those hormones, estrogen and progesterone, start to diminish or have diminished when we're in menopause. That means the impact of the stress response from our nervous system, our thoughts and our beliefs and our perceptions becomes even more notable. We don't have that same buffer, and that becomes more prominent, and it really affects the adrenals. It really affects our thyroid and those downstream systems. So really, it's just sharing your body is more sensitive to stress, right? It's less tolerant of underfueling if you're not getting adequate nourishment, enough of the key nutrients and minerals and amino acids that we need to fuel. It's faster to protect our energy. Believe it or not, your body is always trying to protect you. Your nervous system, unconscious, the number one job unconsciously is to keep you safe. And sometimes that means safety is what is familiar. Even if what is familiar is not what you would prefer, but it is keeping you alive. So let me give a practical example here. Like some of the work that we do in our Hormone Freedom Method, the 5-month private work that we do with our private clients, Helen and I, is we look at the nutrition, right? We look at the digestion system, but we also do a really deep dive look at our own beliefs, thoughts, perceptions, because like I said, the hypothalamus is driving the show and looking under the hood at like what I call our unconscious. The things, what I mean by unconscious, it's not the things that you're actively paying attention to and thinking about day in and day out. Likely they came from early childhood. They're the programs that were downloaded usually before age 7 about how the world works, about when do I feel safe? When do I have love and connection? What type of actions or decisions are, judged and criticized? Which ones are praised? Which ones like allow me to feel relaxed and calm? How do I feel about food? Honestly, even our associations with food, it's often a learned behavior from very early on, what we saw modeled for us in our early childhood and what we kind of experienced in our life at a young age. Those programs, believe it or not, got downloaded into our nervous system, and they show up with specific emotional states that are quick and easy to experience, and other emotional states that are less common. So I'm just going to give an example. If you at a young age lived in an environment where perhaps you had somebody who was a mom who was always a worrier and always like unsettled or anxious about things, that was familiar. That was common, especially if it was like around health or around money or around some topic in particular. Your nervous system, your unconscious programs learned this is how we are in relationship with health, or this is how we relate to money. And it feels familiar for you to constantly still have stress and anxiety and worry about that topic. So some of the things that we do, your body unconsciously is always going to want to protect the things that are familiar, the things that it knows, because that is what has kept you alive to this point. So I kind of went off track there, but some of the things that we do with our private clients is we do some deep, deep healing of those unconscious programs, bring them up to the surface and work with them consciously so that you can create a new neural pathway. So it can be easier for you to experience curiosity, like I just described, that came up on our vacation, even when kind of wild circumstances happen. It can be easier for you to experience security and feeling like I am okay, I am safe, even when looking at what's happening in your world, whether it be with a conversation with a loved one, whether it be with your health, whether it be with your career, you can still feel safe when unexpected things happen. That's the deeper layer healing that we do with our private clients. But honestly, the key here is to not have this be general, right? We want to know what your body is signaling and really know your starting point. So there are I always talk about 3 different hormone patterns that come up. Now, this is not the whole, it's not like you just look at one, because the reality is all 3 of these overlap. You saw that before when I shared those hormone interconnectedness slides. All of these things are relating and tied together. But what's helpful is to know where your body's starting point is. Like what's signaling the loudest. If we look at your symptoms, if we look at how it shows up in your life, it's like this is where you want to get the most traction, where you want to lean in first. So I'm going to talk through those a little bit so you can see if this relates to you. That first is what I call energy and output fatigue. And this is where really metabolically your cells are not able to keep up with the demand. It can look like brain fog, low energy. It can really look like you start strong and then you crash later in the day. Or maybe you're disciplined and trying some new health habits until you're not. And oftentimes we get really hard on ourselves. Like this is definitely a pattern that I was running for many, many years. And it wasn't until I really learned through having some clarity and kind of a roadmap, learn what my body's rhythms are and what was needed, how to optimize thyroid health and thyroid, hormone activation and metabolism, blood sugar levels, so that I could really have a strong energy and output balance. The type 2 is stress response. So stress response, and this tells us where you swing back and forth between extremes. Sometimes it's like you're go, 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 and it's like you're restless, hard to settle down, hard to sit still, hard to focus. That can be a way that stress response presents itself. The other times, it's like I'm just completely flatlined. Like I have nothing in the tank and I am completely deflated and depleted. That can happen too if you feel wired or exhausted, or kind of toggle back and forth between both. It means we recognize that there's probably some dysregulation happening in your nervous system. And so that's going to be like primary area to focus, number 1. And then the type 3 that comes up and can get, again, the area that your body may be asking for help and support with first is that fueling and digestion challenges. And this looks like, honestly, where you're typically undernourished. Usually it's when you have been maybe physically undernourished, like you're just not eating regularly, kind of long breaks or skipping breakfast, and they're just not getting the nourishment. And maybe your body is not able to absorb and to receive and digest and receive that nourishment. And sometimes actually, this is very common. There's a correlation between physically, emotionally, and mentally how you're receiving. Sometimes women are like, I'm eating really healthy. I'm honestly eating like protein. I'm eating healthy foods and having salads and smoothies, every single week. And yet they're not allowing themselves to receive. Their body is not able to actually absorb that nourishment. And oftentimes I'm asking, like, where in your life could you be blocking support? Where are you not letting enough in? Where do you perhaps hold yourself back from like trying to do it all yourself and not letting yourself receive that nourishing support on an emotional level, right? It can show up in different patterns. So I want to stop here and ask, um, to do something practical. I'll put the link in if you haven't yet. Put the link into the chat here for the hormone freedom assessment. Always start there because that's going to give you kind of like I said your starting point, and to know which pattern is speaking the loudest. And it just like just understand you're not random. You're patterned, and having that curiosity, that same curiosity that came up when I crashed the minivan into the palm tree on our trip last week. That same curiosity when it's like, car's locked, keys are locked. Okay, go into action. What are the things we can do? But also having that outside perspective, that outside help. Like Sylvia. Sylvia was the one that really just was able to, you know, come look at the situation and just have a new approach, a new way to move through this. This is exactly what can happen when you have that guidance, that support. This is exactly what we do with our clients. Many times women want to start with our Hormone Freedom Clarity experience. It's a 30-day container of support. Together, we're going to look at your unique health history, your symptoms, where they are now, and do an assessment, a really thorough review of what's coming up with your hormone assessment, your unique health history, and your symptoms currently being presented, and let that guide us to know where to start to get you some traction. What is going to be that one or two key actions that's going to help move the needle? Because really, it's all about progress, seeing real evidence of change, having that clarity of focus so you can kind of filter out all of the noise that's out in the Instagram world and the podcast world. I'm part of it, but oftentimes there's like so many different things coming at you and you don't know what is applicable, what is actually going to be useful and worthwhile of your time to create the change in your body. So a great starting point is that Hormone Freedom 30-day clarity experience. And if you're interested, you can definitely book a health fit call. This is just a 15-minute call. You and I can hop on a phone call, see where you're at, see what is coming up for you in terms of, hey, this is where I'm stuck. This is where I can't seem to make change and break through. You'll get that outside perspective. I'll share honestly and openly about what I see, what are the opportunities, and how you can start to build that momentum right away. But most importantly, the key here is to really consider the perspective of like, ooh, how could I step into curiosity around what's happening with my health right now? Instead of feeling frustrated, instead of feeling, self-critical and being hard on yourself or trying to like push yourself to double down more, it's not, that's probably not going to be the path that's going to ultimately unlock this transformation for you. Really, it's about seeing where your body is, how you can get that clarity and get some momentum at your back. And the solution is to like rebuild that trust, gain some new some new insights, some new appreciation. Like again, it's funny, when the first accident happened, I literally journal because I journal every morning. I was literally journaling after my meditation that next morning, and I was like, what's the gift? What's the blessing in this? And I'm like, it's really cool to appreciate, like, I already have car insurance. Obviously, we have great insurance. And like the fact that like this happens, like it's a phone call, it's taken care of. The fact that I'm in Florida, like really quickly can move into a space of gratitude and appreciation for what already exists. And that is what allows us to be in that space of balancing our hormones, keeping that hypothalamus that I showed you earlier, your thoughts focused and centered around more of what you want and what you enjoy, and really what's working well. And all of that trickles down to affect your hormones. It all affects your stress response. It all affects your digestion. It all affects your ability to receive support, like receive, right? So we talked about our ability to receive support. My husband was very supportive. He's like, oh, that stinks, but we've got our insurance coverage. It'll all be fine. So, sometimes that difficulty is, the mistake is difficulty receiving, right? Somewhere along the way, you learned that you're going to put yourself last, or you're going to be that most critical voice in your head. Like it's very easy for us to go into self-criticism and self-judgment quickly. And oftentimes we're our own worst enemy, right? The dialogue, that what I call our gremlin in our head, especially when it comes to your health goals and feeling like you haven't reached them or you're not where you want to be. Oftentimes we're our own worst critic. And that creates a pattern of your body, like not feeling safe. Like literally, your nervous system doesn't feel safe because that's the dialogue that's going on internally all the time. So if you're at this point where you're realizing like something, I don't need more information, I actually want to know what applies to me. I actually want somebody to help walk me through it and gain the clarity, have some simplicity, some steps to get progress. That's exactly what the Hormone Freedom 30-day clarity experience is all about. So it's not another program, it's an experience. In fact, it's not just meeting once. I understand the value of having support and encouragement. That's why we do it for 30 days, because you do get a deep dive one-on-one session. Then over the 30 days, we will connect for 2 15-minute, what we call SOS calls of like, hey, let's check in. What's working well? What new insights or what new questions have come up based on putting these action steps into practice? What have we learned? What's hard? What's not working well? How can we refine? And then we have another full session 30 days later to see what has changed, to see where your body is responding, to see what comes next, right? So it's really like this beautiful container of clarity, which once you know your body, you know how to work with your body. And that's the key, is being able to partner with and collaborate and understand and appreciate your body. So in addition, you're going to get all of the perks that our private clients get. You get twice a week Momentum podcast for our private clients. That's me kind of in your ear, giving you some encouragement and giving you some little pointers each week. You also get our weekly coaching every single Monday. We send you a personalized coaching message specific to what's happening in your health journey right now. So it's not guessing, it's not trial and error, it's not starting over. You receive that deep clarity and support, as well as the loving accountability to really make this happen. So instead of guessing, you know exactly what your body needs and you know exactly why. So if you saw yourself today, if you related to anything I was talking about with the crazy wild car rental story from my vacation, if you're thinking like, you know what, I do see one of these patterns is what I want to uncover and then really know how to strategically support my body and have that encouragement, have that guidance along the way, then I definitely encourage you to book a health fit call. 15 minutes, we'll hop on the phone call, see where you're at. And again, it's a no pressure call. I'm very transparent about, hey, this is something that I think can be really helpful, or based on what you want and where your body is, I don't think this is the best fit for you right now. And here's something else I would encourage you to start with instead. And always start with the Hormone Freedom Assessment. That's where you can see your body's loudest pattern, what your body is asking for you to start with first. So, all right, ladies. Well, so great to see everyone here. I hope you enjoyed the conversation, enjoyed the kind of wild story. And next week, we'll be back. Both Helen and I will be back for our Hormone Freedom Hour next Wednesday. Look forward to seeing you there. And stay tuned. Great to see you too. Thanks, Mitzi. Stay tuned. We have some exciting announcements coming up in September. A lot's happening in September, so I'll start to share. We're going to be doing our Hormone Freedom Reset live again. We do that a couple times a year, 4-day workshop. It's completely complimentary, so it's an awesome, awesome chance to, if you're like, get the kids back in school, get kind of into my fall routine, mid-September, we're doing our Hormone Freedom Reset. That is an unbeatable experience. Like literally, I would say if you want to get the same exact steps that we use with all of our private clients in detail for 4 days, we just pour so much value, so much insight into this experience. Stay tuned, be on the lookout for that Hormone Freedom Reset coming up in September. And we may have some other new little special goodies that we're going to be announcing shortly. So have a great one. We'll see you again next week. Bye.